Muslims who carry out terrorist attacks in the name of Allah quote the Qur'an to justify their attacks. Muslims who condemn violence in the name of Allah also quote the Qur'an to justify their condemnation of violence. The Qur'an contains both peaceful and violent teachings, so it's very easy to pick a verse that will justify either peaceful or violent behavior. But is obeying Allah simply a matter of picking a verse that justifies whatever you happen to be doing? Or is there a coherent message about peace and violence? The Qur'an presents its own method of interpretation, the doctrine of abrogation. In Surah 2, verse 106, Allah declares, "Whatever communications we abrogate or cause to be forgotten, we bring one better than it or like it. Do you not know that Allah has power over all things?" According to the Qur'an, then, when Muslims are faced with conflicting commands, they aren't supposed to pick the one they like best. Rather, they are to go to history and see which verse was revealed last. Whichever verse came last is said to abrogate or cancel earlier revelations. When we apply this method to the Qur'an, we find that there are 3 stages in the call to jihad depending on the status of Muslims in a society. When Muhammad and his followers were only a tiny minority of the population, they were commanded to preach a message of peace and tolerance. If a Muslim had a disagreement with an unbeliever, he was commanded to quote Surah 109, verse 6, "To you be your religion, and to me be my religion." At this stage, Muslims weren't allowed to fight, even to defend themselves against persecution. Many Muslims point to Qur'an verses that were revealed during this time as proof that Islam is a religion of peace. But the message of the Qur'an eventually changed. When Muhammad had gained a larger following and had formed alliances with various tribes, but wasn't yet strong enough to subjugate non-Muslims, he was ordered to wage defensive jihad. At this stage, Muslims are ordered to fight unbelievers, but only if the unbelievers do something first. A characteristic passage is Surah 2, verses 190 to 193. "And fight in the way of Allah with those who fight with you, and do not exceed the limits. Surely Allah does not love those who exceed the limits. And kill them wherever you find them, and drive them out from whence they drove you out, and persecution is severer than slaughter. And do not fight with them at the sacred mosque until they fight with you in it, but if they do fight you, then slay them. Such is the recompense of the unbelievers. But if they desist, then surely Allah is forgiving, merciful. And fight with them until there is no persecution, and religion should be only for Allah. But if they desist, then there should be no hostility except against the oppressors." So there's fighting in stage 2, but the fighting is a response to persecution or oppression or even criticism. Many Muslims in the West insist that this is the end of the story. Fighting is only for self-defense. But the revelations continued to change as the Muslim community expanded. When Muhammad and his followers became the most powerful force in Arabia, they were commanded to wage offensive jihad, violently subjugating non-Muslims simply for being non-Muslims. Surah 9, verse 29 of the Quran commands Muslims to fight those who do not believe in Allah. Notice this is a command to fight people based on what they believe. Surah 9, verse 73, "O Prophet, strive hard against the unbelievers and the hypocrites and be unyielding to them." Strive hard against whom? Oppressors, persecutors, people who are attacking you? No, strive hard against the unbelievers, non-Muslims, and the hypocrites, people who claim to be Muslims but aren't fully submitting to the commands of Allah and Muhammad. Surah 9, verse 123, "O you who believe, fight those of the unbelievers who are near to you and let them find in you hardness." Surah 48, verse 29, "Muhammad is the messenger of Allah, and those who are with him are severe against disbelievers and merciful among themselves." The distinction in these verses is not between people who are attacking you and people who aren't attacking you. The distinction is between believer and unbeliever, and those who are with Muhammad are only to be merciful towards fellow Muslims. Putting all of this together, we see that jihad proceeds in stages. Stage 1, promote peace and tolerance when the Muslim community is thoroughly outnumbered. Stage 2, fight defensively when the Muslim community is strong enough to fight, but not strong enough to conquer. Stage 3, fight offensively when the Muslim community is strong enough to violently subjugate non-Muslims. Interestingly, you can look at any country in the world and see how the message of Islam changes based on the strength of the Muslim community.